Good evening, dear students. I hope all of you are doing good, enjoying the public holiday, and back to the class. So let's begin the practice session for today. Good evening, all of you. Here is your first question for reading, writing blanks, and you have 2.5 minutes for this. Please post your answers in the chat box once you are done, and we will discuss. Okay, should be done. Let's look at the answers for this one. So this says with the brand value of this billion, according to Forbes 2020 list, up 9% from 2019. Coca-Cola is often rated as the best soda brand in the world. Full stop. Dash, the brand itself represents more than just the products. It's dash of positive experiences, a proud history, even the US itself. So we have connectors here in any case, although, however, and despite. What is the difference between these? Although and despite comes when you have a sentence in which you have two parts and those two parts should be contradictory to one another. Let's look at this sentence and the parts. So the first part is before the comma and the second part starts after the comma. The first part says the brand itself represents more than just the products. It is positive about the brand that it is not just products, it is much more than the product. Second says it is dash of positive experiences. It is dash of positive experiences, a proud history. This is also positive. So there's no chance that we can put although and despite, because you need to have one positive and one negative part in that particular sentence for these two to come. Also, there is a comma after the blank. This means that this connector has to connect this sentence with the previous sentence. So here the answer was however, because they said that with the brand value of this, Coca-Cola is often rated as the best soda brand in the world. This was that they talked about that soda brand in the world. It is the best soda brand means they are talking about the product. But then they say, but it is not just the product because of which it is known. It is known for its proud history as well. So this was the relationship. That's why however came, because before however you just talked about its product, and after that you said but product is not just what it is known for, it is also known for its experiences and a proud history. So selecting although and despite was not a good choice. By now, those who have been attending classes for a month or more, they should be knowing the use of although and despite. It comes when in the same sentence you have two opposite or contrasting parts, one positive and one negative. But in this sentence, both the parts were positive about the product Coca-Cola. The second one says, so this was, however, the brand represents more than just products. It is dash of positive experiences, a proud history. So it is representing of doesn't make sense. You could have said it represents positive experience, then it makes sense. It is symbolic of, this makes sense. It is significant of, you can put important in place of significant and see if it makes sense. Like we can say it is important of something, doesn't make sense. You say it is important to do something, it is important for something, but it is important of not. It is typical of, so we are not talking about typical or modern or contemporary. So it is symbolic of means what does it show? It is symbolic of positive experiences, a proud history, even the US itself. Also recognized for its unique marketing campaigns, the Coca-Cola Corporation has made a global dash on its consumer engagement. So it has made what? A global dash, and the answer should come with the preposition on. It has made a global mark on something, global influence. So influence is not made. We generally say it has an influence, or they have influence. For influence, we don't use make or made. Result, it has made a global result. So again, results are not made, but yes, we do say we have, this thing has made an impact on something. So that's how the answer would be. Coca-Cola Corporation has made a global impact on its consumer engagement. According to Fortune, Coca-Cola is the 22nd most admired company in the world. Dash beverage companies, it ranks number 14. So there are so many companies in beverage, they are not one or two. So we'll say among, because among is used when you have more than two options. So you'll say among beverage companies, it ranks number 14 or 4, whatever it is. For the Fortune 500 rankings, Coca-Cola comes in at number 93.6. Coca-Cola outsells its historical rival, dash almost 45% of the soft drink market. So what can we do? What can Coca-Cola do? Can Coca-Cola regulate 45% market? Can it predominate 45%? Can it control 45%? Or can it keep 45%? So this art of creating a question out of the sentence is very, very important, so that you don't get distracted with the number of words that are there in the sentence. Rather, you should know that what am I particularly looking for. For example, here, what can Coca-Cola do with the market? Coca-Cola can control the market, because regulation is when you make rules and laws for other ones. So Coca-Cola cannot make laws for the rivals, and you cannot keep the market. Predominant doesn't fit. You need a verb. So it cannot keep, it cannot regulate, but yes, it can control 45% share of the soft drink market, right? So these are the answers. Let's go through it once again. So the first one was based on elimination. Although and despite only come when in one sentence you have two contrasting parts. If the two parts are on one side, although and despite cannot come. So that's why it is however. One reason for why however is there is the relationship between previous sentence and the next sentence. The previous sentence talked about only the product, where the next sentence says, but it is not just the product, it is also known for proud history. So whenever you want to put but, the better form of but is however. So you can put that. Also, the comma was a hint, because with although, you generally don't put a comma after although. It's a running sentence, and the same goes for despite. The next one is it is symbolic of. Again, we can eliminate. It cannot be it is representing of or it is important of. These words do not go with of. So it is symbolic of means it shows history, it shows proud history, and it shows experiences. Third one is you make an impact, or you don't make influence, result, or mark. So you leave a mark, but you make an impact. So with make, impact goes. Fourth is among, because there will be more than two companies. So that is why it will be among. Among is used when you have more than two options. And the last one, Coca-Cola as a company, as a brand, it can control certain percentage in the market. It cannot regulate or it cannot keep the market. Right? I hope it's clear now. Any doubts, anybody? Make sure that when we are discussing, you are not typing at the same time, because when you're typing the one answer, you'll skip the next two as well, and that will be a problem, because otherwise also I'll repeat all the answers once again. First one did not talk. So Gopal, with did comes first form, so you should write first one did not talk about product, best soda brand. It was talking about brand only. Yeah, so they said that it is best soda brand. So soda is the product, no? In Coca-Cola, soda is the product. So they said it is known for the best product, best soda product in the world. But then they say it is not just the product it is known for, it is also known for experiences and history. No, Piyush, impact can be positive as well as negative. It's used for both the options. All good? Any other confusions in this one? So Piyush, in the first one, we eliminated although and despite cannot come, because the sentence with although and despite should have two contrasting parts. This sentence starting from this blank, it has only positive about Coca-Cola, so it cannot be although or despite. So rather the link was with the previous information and the next information. The previous information said that it is the best product, but it is not just the best product it is known for, it is also known for its reputation or its history. This was the connection. Okay. So this just was very, very important here. Both although and despite come when the sentence has two contrasting pieces of information, one positive and one negative. Then you get although and despite. And if you haven't watched the grammar video, please do watch that. It's very important. However comes when you want to say but. So however is a better form of saying but. All right, so this is your second question and you have 2.5 minutes for this. Please post your answers in the chat box. Okay, should be done. The first one, I haven't got many correct answers. Good, Srishti, for the first one. Sometimes the answers are based on context. So generally, or most of the times when you have two blanks in single sentence, you should be cautious that your first blank and the second blank are making a sense with each other. Okay, let's look at this. This says scholars of women's history dash be as cautious about accepting oral narratives at face value as they dash are about written memories. So if I tell you the second answer, maybe you will get the first one correct. So rather we'll say scholars of women history dash be as cautious about accepting. Accepting means to accept. So they are giving a warning that they should be. It's a suggestional warning. You're giving a suggestion to be cautious about doing something as they dash are. So are means you can say previously. Previously would be were. Previous is past. So it was already with are. They mean to say that they should be cautious about oral stories as they already are cautious about written memories. So this was the meaning of the first sentence, that they wanted to say that presently, like they are cautious about written memories, they should be cautious about oral narratives as well. Right? So here R was very, very important, and accepting, about accepting means to accept. So oral narratives are no more likely than our written narratives to provide a disinterested commentary on events or people. Moreover, the stories people tell to explain themselves are dashed by narrative devices. So grammar says with are comes third form of verb, are shaped by or are worked by. And what is are here? Stories. So can we work stories or can we shape stories? Definitely stories can be shaped. Shaped would be just like formed by narrative devices, storytelling convention. So it will be shaped would be just like formed by storytelling conventions as well as other cultural and historical factors in ways that the storytellers may be unaware of. The political rhetoric of a particular era may influence women's dash of the significance of their experience. So here, if you look at the answers, first of all, you should ask yourself, what do I need, verb or noun? So they say may influence women's dash, and you have off written after the blank. That tells you that whenever there's a blank before off, you need a noun in that case. Interpretative is not a noun, so you should eliminate that. Now, if you carefully look at the answers, two are singular and one is plural. That should give you a hint that my answer should be, my choice should be based on do I need singular or do I need plural. So here, are they talking about any one clarification or any one translation? No, they were generally talking about all the oral stories and all the written stories. There's no one story that they are talking about. They were not talking about one situation or event. Rather, they were talking about facts about how stories are formed. So here they said, for example, the political rhetoric of a particular era may influence women. So it will be interpretations, because we are not talking about any one thing. We are talking about the whole of the era. So there will be a lot of interpretations about different things happening, right? So women's interpretations of the significance of their experience. Thus, a woman who views the Second World War as dash in increasing the social acceptance of women's paid work. So if a woman sees Second World War as dash in increasing women's social acceptance. So the Second World War is seen as central, major, pivotal, or crucial. I see some of you writing major. Can you see women who views the Second World War as major in increasing? They wanted to say that the Second World War played a very important role to increase women's acceptance in society. So it will be central role or pivotal. Pivotal is a better way of saying central. So that's why you should go with that. Crucial means important, but here they wanted to say central. So it would be views the Second World War as pivotal in increasing the social acceptance of women's paid work outside the home, may reach that dash partly and unwittingly because of wartime rhetoric encouraging. So may reach that opinion, conclusion, final or closing. It should be a conclusion because they said that the women who view Second World War as a central thing in increasing their acceptance, why do they, or how do they reach to this conclusion that this Second World War played an important role? It was because of the wartime rhetoric encouraging a positive view of women's participation in such work. So it was that how did they reach to that conclusion is because of this thing. So again, the first was a suggestion that they should be cautious about doing something like they already are in doing the other thing. Then stories are formed. You cannot say stories are worked. For formed, we can say shaped as well. Next one, may influence women's dash. So now people are asking me, women is also plural. You have to revise your rules. That singular plural thing is for noun and verb. If your noun is singular, your verb cannot have s. And if your noun is plural, if your noun is plural, the verb cannot have s. If the noun is singular, then the verb needs to have s. Here, women's interpretations, it's known verb here. Verb was influence. This is the subject that you are writing here, that what is being influenced. Women's interpretation means interpretations of the women are being influenced, right? And then they saw the women, they viewed Second World War as pivotal. Pivotal means central. They played that the Second World War played a central role in doing something. That's how it is pivotal. So if you put previously, it should be were here. Previously cannot come with 𝗪𝗔𝗍. So because previously means past tense. Right? Good question, Preet. No worries. Anybody else? Any confusion? Good, Rupam, not a bad attempt. Just focus more on understanding where you went wrong rather than marks only matter in the exam, not in the practice tests. Here, learning matters more. Right, so here you have your next question. You have 2.5 minutes. All right, should be done by now. Post your answers and let's begin the discussion. So this one says Io and Europa, the inner two of Jupiter's four largest moons. So we can for now eliminate this so that we can shorten the sentence. So 1 and 2 are about the size of Earth's moon and are dash of rock and metal. So you should know this thing, that how to eliminate the words. Like we always eliminate the comma to comma part, we eliminate the hyphen to hyphen part. Similarly, you can eliminate the ly words because they cannot impact your answer. So we'll read 1 and 2 are about the size of Earth's moon and are dash of rock and metal. So are dash of, are composed of, are constitute, with are should be third form. Are consists of or are construct of. So there's only one third form that we have. Are composed of rock and metal. Ganymede and Callisto are larger and roughly half ice. Thus, these four moons are somewhat analogous to the planets of the solar system, in which the rock and metal-rich inner planets are dashed from the much larger gas and ice-rich. So the answer was given in the sentence. The first ones are metal-rich, the other ones are gas and ice-rich. So what are they? They are different from each other. So it would be distinct. If you will write specific or well-defined, how do you come to know that they are talking about well-defined or they are talking about specific or non-specific things? So always question yourself if you have anything like this being explained. They cannot expect you to know that one thing is specific or not. They'll only ask you what the paragraph can tell you, right? So that's how the answer was in the sentences where they said in which the rock and metal rich inner planets, they are distinct from the gas and ice rich planets, because you can see one is metal rich, one is ice rich, so they are distinct from each other. However, Jupiter's moons are more systematic. Dash of their properties vary continuously with distance from Jupiter. So it would be multiple of, many of, little of, or much of. So little and much does not go with properties because properties are definitely countable. Multiple of, no, we'll say many of the properties. We don't say multiple of the properties. Say many of their properties vary continuously with distance from Jupiter. For example, Io is ice-free. Europa has a surface shell of ice. And dash 1 and 2 are both ice rich. Outermost Callisto has more. So we are making a comparison between different moons. So when we make comparisons, what will be, since, during, while, or usually, there's only one word which we use for comparison out of these four given. So it is while. While these are both ice rich, the outermost Callisto has more. Right? This compositional gradient has geological parallels. Io is extremely geologically active. Europa seems to be active on a more modest scale. And Ganymede dash bouts of activity in its geological past. And I could see people writing undergoes here or is undergoing here. Is and undergoes, will they match with happening something in the past? The only past option you had was has undergone. Undergone means already this thing has been done in the past. All the other options, two were future tenses and two were present tenses, whereas the word was very clearly written that this particular moon G dash activity in its past. So it should be has undergone in the past because it's already done. Undergone means already done. All right, so let's go through it once again. Are composed of, with are should be third form, did not have any other options. The metal planets are different from ice planets, so it will be metal rich planets are distinct from ice rich planets. Then they said many of the properties, right? And then while, because you're making a comparison. And last one, because of the word past, it should be has undergone. Like you'll say, I have done the work. Done means what? You did it like yesterday or maybe any other day. So done means it's already finished. Yes, while can come after and, there's no such rules. No. Fourth sentence is not complete, Jashanpreet. And if you say and Ganymede and Callisto are both ice rich, how can you put a comma? So completion should be till the full stop. If you are putting a comma, what is the comma referring here? We cannot just say and Ganymede and Callisto are both ice rich, comma outermost Callisto has more. This is comma is because you started with while this is this, comma the other part is that. That was a use of comma here, and that's how the sentence is incomplete. Yes, Lokendra, present perfect has undergone is present perfect. But what does it mean? Undergone means what? Like I said, I have done the work in the past. Can't we say, I have completed this assignment last month? I have already completed this work. That means you have already done in the past only, no? So I hope it's clear now. Anything else? Apparent is clear. Yes, anything else if I have missed? Okay. So here is your next question. Third one. Third one is many, because little and much come with uncountable things, but properties can be counted. How many properties are there? So that's why I'll say many of the properties. Multiple is when you have options, then you use multiple. Okay, so here is your next question. You have 2.5 minutes for this. All right, should be done. Nehul can be put plural with a. A means one. Can we write effects with that? So this says so this question says aging takes a dash on the body and on the mind. So takes a toll is a collocation. A phrase rather takes a toll means like affect, like we say the verb affect something, we can say takes a toll. So those who have written effects, please make sure that you are reading your word, your sentences properly. You cannot write a plural thing with a means singular. So a suffering and a harm, again one suffering and one harm is not what aging can do. So aging is takes a toll means it affects the body, affects on the body and on the mind. For example, the tissue of aging, human brains sometimes develops abnormal clumps of proteins that are the hallmark of Alzheimer's disease. How can you protect your brain from these effects? Researchers at the center Researchers at the center dash that older adults may benefit from a specific diet called the mind diet. So researchers have found, are finding, have been finding, or had found. So unless and until, whenever they talk about a research, we always select present tense in that, like has or have, unless and until they mention that this researchers in 1989 had, then you'll say had found. Otherwise, we don't go with ing or we don't go with had, we always go with present perfect in that case. Like you said, this study suggests or this study has suggested. So it would be researchers at the center have found that older adults may benefit from a specific diet called the mind diet, even when they even when they develop these protein deposits known as amyloid plaques and tangles. Plaques and tangles are a pathology found in the brain that build up in between nerve cells and typically dash with thinking and problem solving skills. So this is something which is built up in our nerve cells and dash with thinking. So restrain comes with from, restrain from, hold back with doesn't make sense. Hold back is to not letting something go, that is hold back. Conceal is hide, and interfere, yes, we can put it that this thing interfere with thinking and problem solving skills. That means this whatever this deposit of the brain, if it comes, if you get a deposit of that brain in your mind, this interferes in your thinking, and that means that doesn't allow you to think properly. Developed by the late Martha Claire Morris, who was a Rush nutritional epidemiologist, and her colleagues, the mind diet is a dash of the one and the two diet. So it should be kind of combination of two diets, but we don't have combination here. Mixture, we cannot say mixture of diet because mixture would be like actually mixing things on a plate. Variety, composition, but hybrid is a word that also means combination. So that's why we can put hybrid here. It is a hybrid of the two diets. Previous research studies have found that the mind diet may reduce a person's dash of developing this disease. So with disease, yes, we do use the word risk of developing disease or not risk of developing disease. So it should be risk at the end, risk of developing the disease. So takes a toll is a phrase that should come together. Second, as I said, with researchers, we always say has, have, or simple present tense. We never say past perfect or we never say ing unless and until the context makes it clear. Third one is this whatever build up in the brain, this interferes with the thinking, means because interfere is a negative word and that's what we are talking about is a disease. So that disease interferes, that is it hampers our thinking and problem solving skills. And one diet is a combination of two diets. So we don't have the word combination. We can go with hybrid. That also means the same. And reduce a person's risk of getting any disease. It's a common thing. Hybrid will be used for two. Hybrid means combination of two things. So Sahaj, mixture would be like, can you mix diets? Mixture would be like actually mixing water in milk, mixing lemon in water. That's called mixture. Let's say there's one diet. For example, you're following a diet plan, you're following another diet plan. So say I'll combine these two diets, or I'll mix these two diets. That would be combine these two diets rather than mixture. Okay. All good. Anything else in this question? Why not composition? Where is the composition? No. Composition is rather like the percentages of things, that how much of one and how much of two. That's a composition. It does not mean that you are making one thing out of the two is not composition. Composition means how many proportions in one particular thing is the composition. Like you say, gold is made up of this much percentage of gold, this much percentage of silver, and this much. That is composition of gold. It is used for one thing, elements in one thing. Right? So as I said, Raj, takes a toll is a phrase, a collocation. So you'll say that because aging cannot have one harm on the body. So means one. So you could have said aging harms body, then it's fine, not one harm. Okay. No, combine and mix won't be same. Combine would be like you're following something out of first diet and following something out of second, but mix would be actually more used with when you make a mixture out of two things. And mixture is more like, again, mixture and combination would be, mix is when you actually mix both the things together, and combination is just like, how should I explain? Mixture is more used with physically mixing two things with each other, whereas combination is not physically mixing things, right? Okay, last question for reading, writing blanks, and you have 2.5 minutes. Okay, I'm very happy with the second answer. Most of you have done it correct. Good attempt. So let's look at the answers. This says, in terrestrial environments, gravity places special demands on the cardiovascular systems of animals. Gravitational pressure can cause blood to pool in the lower regions of the body, making it difficult to dash blood to critical organs. So making it difficult to circulate blood. V2 comes first form of a verb, and circulate is generally we use with blood circulation. It becomes difficult to circulate blood to critical organs such as the brain. Terrestrial snakes dash exhibit adaptations that aid in circulating blood. Now, those who did not get it, this was an example given, because before this sentence, you were not talking about terrestrial snakes. You were talking about a concept, gravitational pressure, in terrestrial animals or environments, and a lot of animals in general. And then they picked up one animal and they started explaining about that. So you should be having any option like for example, but you don't have for example, but you have in particular. In particular also means when you pick up one thing out of a general context and you particularly want to talk about that, just like to give example of that, then we say in particular. So terrestrial snakes in particular exhibit adaptations that aid in circulating blood dash the force of gravity. The circulate blood against the force of gravity is based on context, because this is what they were talking about, that gravity does not allow blood circulation. So in these snakes, the circulation happens against the force of gravity. The problem confronting terrestrial snakes is best illustrated by what happens to sea snakes when removed from their supportive medium, because the vertical pressure gradients within the blood vessels are counteracted by similar pressure gradients in the surrounding water. The distribution of blood dashed the body of sea snakes remains the same. So distribution of blood throughout, completely, overall, or around. So we generally say the blood is required throughout the body, not around, overall, or completely. So distribution of blood throughout the body means each and every part of the body of sea snakes remains the same, dash their orientation in space. So yes, all of you are again correct in this, regardless of, because with in spite also we'll need in spite of, irrespective of, because we have there, so it should be regardless of something, right? So blood circulation, that's how the first answer is difficult to circulate blood. Second was an example. You were talking about animals and then you picked up one animal and you started explaining about that. That means you want to say, for example, this particular snake or this particular animal. So we don't have for example, so we can say in particular in place of for example. And against the force of gravity, that was based on context. Last is we need blood all over in the body, every part, so it will be throughout. And last is irrespective of, any other option does not have of, and without of we cannot complete the phrase. Okay. For such as, you never put such as in 2 commas, Fatima. Have you ever seen such as in 2 commas? You need something like for example or in particular, because they need commas. Okay. Anything else? So if we'll put along in this, that will again be the same, that they were talking about the problem. So they are telling us the aid means the help. So they're adaptations that help in circulating blood against gravity, because help will solve the problem. Help will not again do the problem. So the circulation of the blood with the flow of gravity was the problem. So they are helping, adaptations are helping to solve the problem. That is why it is against the force of gravity. All right. You can write along without with as well. Okay, are we good with the reading, writing blanks? If terrestrial snakes comes in last, we use such as. Like in last means? Yeah, then we can say that many of the animals get help from adaptation, such as terrestrial snakes, and the such as is not in commas. Like there are no commas there, then you can write such as. If there are commas, then we cannot write that. Okay, so you have your first question for reorders. Make sure that you do them with a smile on your face. They will turn out well. 2 minutes for this and post your answers. Very easy question rather. So I am hoping a lot of you to do it correct. Okay, let's look at the hints. They said also opposing, so something should be opposed first. This is the second thing being opposed. Also opposing the proposal was the Society for Promoting the Employment of Women, SPEW, which attempted to challenge it by investigating the causes of illness in white lead factories. Acting on the recommendation of a British government committee investigating the high incidence in white lead factories of illness among employees, most of who were women, the Home Secretary proposed in 1895 that Parliament enact legislation that would prohibit women from holding most jobs in white lead factories. So a complete sentence, something they said there was illness in women when they work in white lead factories. So that is why the Home Secretary proposed in Parliament that they should make a law which will prohibit women from working there. SPEW, so short form, we have the full form already written, so that sentence will come first. And WIDC, we need to find out if we have the full form for this given as well. Although the Women's Industrial Defense Committee, WIDC, formed in 1892 in response to earlier legislative attempts to restrict women's labor, did not discount the white lead trade's potential health dangers, it opposed the proposal. So first a proposal has to be made, only then it can be accepted or opposed, rejected. Viewing it as yet another instance of limiting women's work opportunities. So a very easy question. First you will make the proposal and then they will oppose, means they will reject the proposal. Also they will oppose one more thing. So first they oppose the proposal and they also oppose something else. And in the end, you have 𝗬𝗍 and 𝗬𝗖𝗍 can only come once you have talked about both of them. So this was another hint that this will come at the end. So BDAC, any doubts, anybody? If the sentences are long, if the information is difficult, still you have to make a story only getting the easy things. Like I cannot say that I understood everything, but yes, I understood 50% and I just made a story out of it, that okay, they're talking about this factory and illness among women, so they make a proposal and then okay, they oppose the proposal. These are not difficult words, and it will always be the case. No matter how difficult the language is, there will be easy words and enough easy words for you to make the overall story out of it. Right? Any confusions? Okay. Time period into is 1895. So in D it is 1892. So that should come first. Piyush, it's always said that you can never ever answer based on just looking at the years. You always have to read the context, because there's no such rule that only looking at years you can get the answer. If you see clearly here, they mentioned formed in 1892 in response to earlier legislative attempts. And this time they opposed the proposal. So that was a reference given in the past, not about the current thing. Okay, second question, you have 2 minutes for this one. All right, another easy question. Let's look at the hints. It is true that as the capacity of a manufacturing operation rises, costs per unit of output fall as plant size approaches minimum efficient scale. It is in inverted commas, means here is where it is being introduced, minimum efficient scale, where the cost per unit of output reaches a minimum determined roughly by the state of existing technology and the size of the potential market. The throughput needed to maintain the optimum scale of production requires careful coordination not only of the flow of goods through the production process, but also of the flow of input from suppliers and this and that. Manufacturers have to do more than build large manufacturing plants to realize economies of scale. So this is your first sentence where we are talking about manufacturers. They have to do more than build large manufacturing plants so that there are economies of scale. However, means you have to go opposite to something. Minimum efficient scale. So we had introduced minimum efficient scale somewhere here. Now they say, however, means but minimum official scale cannot be fully realized unless a steady throughput is attained. So here throughput is in inverted commas, means here it is being introduced. So again, first sentence was C, then you will first introduce minimum efficient scale, then only you can refer to minimum efficient scale. Otherwise, so after that, you have the throughput and you have a throughput. To acronym article rule says something with a comes first and the comes later on. So a throughput and the throughput was a clear hint here. And minimum efficient scale introduction will come before reference. Right? Any doubts, anybody? So just a and the inverted commas and without inverted commas was the thing that you have to solve this question on. Okay, so you have one more question, number 3. 2 minutes for this. Okay, post your answers. Some of you have done really good. Okay, let's look at the hints. This says, but what is meant by services? So what is important? Question mark is very important. Thus, the classical definition is hard to sustain. So that means we are finding out the conclusion of the discussion. Some economists define a service as something that is produced and consumed simultaneously, for example, a haircut. So some economists define service as this and this. So explaining what is a service. So obviously the question will come first and then you will give the answer. The broader, this word was very, very important. Broader is second form of verb and it is used when you're making a comparison. The broader means before that you will give a definition and then you will say the broader than this one is the following definition. The broader classical definition is that a service is an intangible something that cannot be touched or stored. This is the classical definition, but it has the broader written here. That means before that, we would have given a narrower one. In 1988, services moved ahead of manufacturing as the main product of the US economy. Complete sentence. Yet, electric utilities can store energy and computer programs save information electronically. So, yet is very important. Yet, I generally say instead of yet, you could say but still. That is an easier way to understand the meaning of yet anywhere, be it blanks or reorders. So the first was E, where you said the services moved ahead of manufacturing, and then you say, but what exactly is a service? Number two. First, you give a narrower definition. See, some economies say this and this is a service. The broader because the broader, you should have the narrower first. Broader ER means you have to make a comparison with the narrower one. So the broader classical definition is this. So the classical definition said it cannot be touched or stored, but still electric utilities, they store energy, and the computer programs also save information electrically. And that is why, thus, the classical definition is hard to sustain. Hard to sustain means difficult, because it says things should not be stored, but yes, still things are stored. The services are stored. Right? So this was more based on just the connectors. Thus played a good role, but played a good role, yet played a good role. So if you have simplified but yet, that would have been easier. And then the broader means you already have talked about something, and then you're comparing it with the broader thing. Okay. Any questions, anybody? So Sarabji, this is happy, this is sad. B is last because B is the conclusion. So the classical definition says things should not be stored, or services should not be stored. And then you say, but still we store services. And the conclusion is that, so classical definition is hard to understand. Okay. Okay, happy, then it's good. Nusrat also very happy. Raj, are you talking about the word broader or the concept broader? The word broader does not mean the concept broader. The word broader here means no. Two things. Are you talking about when I say you have to put the broader context first, narrower context second, that broader, or here the use of the word broader? Here the word broader just means broader definition, not that concept of being which should be broader, which should be narrower. So the broader means you already have something said, and now you say the broader one, because ER means compared to what we have said, the broader is this, that second form. Got it? All right. The last question for reorders for today, and you have 2 minutes for this. All right, should be done. And a very good attempt. This says only in research on entirely new treatments are new and unexpected variables likely to rise. So only in means we have already talked about research in general. Currently, researchers collect far more background information on patients than is strictly required for their trials, substantially more than hospitals collect, thereby escalating costs of data collection, storage, and analysis. So they're saying we collect more information than it is required at present. Although limiting information collection would increase the risk that researchers will overlook facts relevant to a study, Frazier and Mosteller contend that such risk, never entirely eliminable from research, would still be small in most studies. So although limiting information, so we have to talk about that, where are they talking to limit information? Frazier and Mosteller assert that medical research could be improved by a move toward larger, simpler clinical trials of medical treatments. This is where the topic is that we have to simplify the medical trials and the medical trials of the medical treatments. What we currently do is we collect more than the required information, which is not required, which escalates the cost. And then although limiting information, obviously we'll say we collect more and we should limit it, but limiting has a risk. And in the end, we talk about only in research on entirely new treatments are new and unexpected variables likely to rise. So they said it's small in most studies and only in this particular ones it is. All right, and most of you have done it correct. Very good. Any doubts, anybody? No, Ankush, although it's not a conclusion, thus is a conclusion, hence is a conclusion, therefore is a conclusion, although it's not a conclusion. Very good, Sarabjit. You deserve a good star. Where is my star? I lost it today again. No. So as usual, I'll give it to everybody for attempting reorders with all your heart. Good, Sahil. 12 out of 14 is also a good score. Okay. First question for reading blanks, and you have 2 minutes for this. Please post your answers in the chat box. Okay, are we done? So this said, Nusrat, what is with reach? When a business wants to increase its market share or dash reach at a low cost. So when business wants to increase the share of the market or their geographical reach means they want to cover new area. At a low cost, it may franchise its product and brand name. A franchise is a joint venture dash a franchisor and a franchisee. So between both of them is what we have a franchise arrangement. The franchisor is the original business. It sells the right to use its name and idea. The franchisee buys this right to sell the franchisor's goods or services, dash an existing model or trademark. So they sell under an existing name or existing trademark. Franchises are a popular way for entrepreneurs to start a business, especially when entering a highly dash industry. So an adjective to describe industry is competitive industry, such as fast food. One big advantage to purchasing a franchisee is you have dash to an established company's brand name. So you have access to the other company's brand name. The only first one is some of you messed up the first one and some of you the third one. So you sell the other person's goods under a different brand name or different trademark, maybe. Good. Any doubts, anyone? All good with this one? Okay, so here's your second question, and you have 2 minutes for this. Okay, let's do this. So why are you people writing in accordance with just because it is something difficult? In accordance with just means like according to. Like we say that you have to fill this form in accordance with the rules. That means as per the or according to. Here they said the term $1 trillion coin refers to a theoretical concept dash a government could mint a physical coin out of platinum. So the answer was whereby. Whereby means you are explaining that what happens in a concept. Whereby means according to which. So it cannot be just according to, or according to which, or you can say in which. So you can say the term $1 trillion coin refers to a theoretical concept in which a government could mint a physical coin out of platinum with a face value of $1 trillion, which dash then be used to reduce the national debt. So here it will be which could be used, because it's a possibility, not a compulsion. Must comes when you want to say that this has to be done. But here they are saying this is a theoretical concept, to make a coin out of platinum, which could be then used to reduce the national debt. It's a possibility. This conceptual strategy was first dashed in 2011. So was should be with third form, was proposed in 2011 as a potential alternative. Can you see potential alternative means it was just something that can have the potential to do something. So must cannot come. To raising the debt ceiling, dash there were several high profile proponents of the idea. It was rejected. So we have two different parts, one positive, one negative. So we'll go with although many people supported it, but it was eventually rejected. Right? Any doubts in this? Whereby means in which, and must only comes when you want to say have to. So if you want to put must, you put have to in that case. So here would which have to be used, right? Hence comes when when you conclude something and that conclusion is in future tense, then you use hence in that case. All right. Whereby means in which or according to which, not just according to which. Right? So the third question, and you have 2 minutes for this. Very good, well attempt. And let's look at the answers. This says the idea of the brain as an dash processor. So we need something of a vowel. So as an information processor has come to dash neuroscience. So with two comes first form of verb, without S, there's only two, cover and dominate. So has come to cover neuroscience. The idea cannot cover science, so it can dominate science, means it can be a major idea, dominate neuroscience. However, one enemy of the brain as computer metaphor is John R. Searle, a philosopher who dashed that since computers simply follow. So one person, so we need a verb with S. Only one argues, this person argues that since computers simply follow algorithms, they cannot deal with important dash of human thought, such as one and two. So there should be multiple. So important aspects, only one plural noun we have. Computers are syntactic creatures rather than semantic. People dash understand meaning because they have something. So people on the other hand, so we are making a comparison between people and computers. So we say computers are syntactic creatures. People on the other hand understand meaning. Right? Otherwise, also you cannot put people is believing or people cover in two commas. So on the other hand was the only connector that you had. A very good attempt by all of you. Still any doubts, anybody? Whereas is used when you talk about like uh, if the same would have been in one sentence and you say that computers are syntactic whereas people are semantic, then you can use whereas in that case, right? So more in a continuation sentence rather than a new sentence. Okay, aspect comes in which type of noun, as in would be like a thing, or yeah, thing should be. Difficult question though, but should be something like thing only. Okay, let's move on to the next question and the last one for today. Question number 4. This is the second last one. Australian researchers have discovered electroreceptors clustered at the tip of the spiny entity's snout. The researchers made this discovery by dash small areas two extremely weak fields. So with two, it should be they made this discovery by exposing, because with exposing we use to, expose to. So by exposing the areas to extremely weak electrical fields and recording the transmission of resulting nervous activity to the brain, while it is true that tactile receptors can also dash to electrical stimuli. So with can should come first a form of verb. First form of verb is respond or answer. So we are talking about receptors and electrical stimuli. So with stimuli, we say respond. So receptors respond to electrical stimuli. Dash receptors do so only in response to electrical field strengths. It was not some, it was such, because you were talking about the same receptors. Such receptors do so means whatever has been mentioned, they're referring to that thing only in response to electrical field strengths about 1000 times dash than. So with than, it should be second form of verb, and we have greater as only second form is greater, so we'll go with that, greater than those known to excite electroreceptors. All right, there's some of you wrote some in the second last one. Yes, it was a bit confusing, but the way the sentence is framed, do so means they are referring everything to the previous sentence. So such receptors do so only in response to electrical field strengths. Any doubts, anybody? 𝑠17 out of 20. Good, Akhil. Good score. Okay, any one of you having any doubt? These were all the questions that we had to do today. Any doubts, anybody? Any questions, anybody? Those who do not have any doubts or questions, yes, you're free to leave, and I will see you tomorrow. Same time, 7 p.m. Come back for your practice sessions.